You know what creates the most distance between two people? It's communication. See, most times when we're involved in a conversation, we're only thinking of it one-sided. We're not thinking about the second aspect. Most people probably don't even realize how many different aspects of a conversation there is. For instance, I could say one thing to you and you can hear me and you can respond. And then I could say to myself, wow, I didn't even mean that. But yet, I heard what I said. I interpreted what I said. I interpreted how you were going to receive what I said. Yet, when it was delivered, the package wasn't what I intended. That's where most people go wrong right away in a conversation, just right there. And that's just the beginning part of a conversation. What about the additional steps after that? Let's compare it to a package now because I feel like I'm vibing with the package. That feels good. So let's use the package as a thought in your mind. Okay? So you have this package. The package represents your thought. You want to give this package to the person that you're speaking to. Now the package is wrapped, of course. They can't see what's in it. So you give the package to them and you say, here, this is a blue ribbon. And they open the package and they're like, this is not a blue ribbon. This is a turquoise ribbon. And you're like, no. I specifically gave you a blue ribbon. And they're like, no. And then you're like, well, blue is turquoise, isn't it? And they're like, no, turquoise is turquoise. Blue is blue. And you're like, well, no, blue is turquoise. And they're like, no, turquoise is turquoise. Blue is blue. Now, do you see how right there, that simple thing just turned into an argument? Just on a matter of interpretation. See, the thing is that when we say things to people, we know how we're saying it so that they can receive it. How we're expecting them to receive it when we say it. But just because of that doesn't mean that they're going to receive it the way that we interpreted them to receive it. See, we're all different. We all come from different experiences, different lifestyles, different backgrounds. So no one person is ever going to be thinking the same thing. Think about that. No one person will ever think the exact same thought at the same time. They might have similar thoughts at the same time, but never the exact same thought at the same time. There might be different variances of the same thought, different interpretations, different feelings behind that thought, right? Because there's different actions that happen before thoughts even come to mind. We won't even go there into that part yet. We're just going to stay on a surface level of human-to-human interaction, human-to-human communication, and how so quickly it can go from 0 to 100 just by something so simple. And in your head, you're thinking, wow, like, I just gave you a gift. I just gave you a blue ribbon gift. And they're like, oh, well, thank you for the gift, but it's not a blue ribbon. It's a turquoise. I wish you just call it what it is. See, that's because everyone's interpretation is different. So everything, you might say one thing to one person, they interpret it a certain way. You might say the exact same thing to somebody else and they interpret it completely different. Yet your delivery was still the same. Your message was still the same. What you were trying to convey is still the same. Yet two different people interpreted that same message two different ways. One person might take it as a compliment. The next person might take it as an offense. See, that's where we go wrong in our communication with other people. So this is like pretty much the epitome of so much destruction, so much disorder, so much chaos comes from just a simple lack of communication, a lack of understanding. So how do we fix that? How do we make that better? We have to become more consciously aware, not only of yourself, the things that you're saying to other people, the things that you're letting come out of your mouth, but also you have to become consciously aware of other people and how other people might perceive what you said differently. You gotta step out of your shoes and step into the other person's shoes. So many times we have such difficulty doing just that simple thing, just stepping out of our shoes into the shoes of another, just seeing how they might perceive it, how differently, because we're just thinking with a one-track mind. We're just thinking that everybody thinks like we do. But just for that moment, if you stop, as soon as they said, no, it's a blue turquoise, it's a turquoise ribbon, not blue. You know what? I never thought about it that way. How about that? It's turquoise. Okay. All right, so let's come to a compromise here. I say it's blue. You say it's turquoise. How can we come to a compromise here? How can we meet halfway? You call it turquoise, I call it blue. How about that? You call it what you see it, I call it what I see it. How about that? Or what's your interpretation of turquoise? Just take it a moment and trying to take a second and just understand where the other person is coming from. And not automatically assuming every single time that everything we say is going to be received the way that we're delivering it. Taking a minute and pausing and just realizing in any and everything we do, in every communication that we have, most times people are going to receive what we say the way that we're delivering it. Most times. Let's give it a 7 to 8 out of 10 times. Most people are going to receive our message the way that we're delivering it. But you're going to have that 10 to 20% that of the time that, and it might even be the same person, maybe the same person 7 out of 10 times or 8 out of 10 times, they perceive what you're saying the way that you're delivering it. But then that 10 or 20% of the time, they don't. And it turns into a huge argument. Let's not forget the 70 to 80% of the time that communication is smooth, right? But then there's the 10 to 20% that it just turns into mayhem, and just this small things just blows up into something huge. And now you find yourself arguing all the time, or now you find yourself having disagreements, and now you find yourself just not seeing eye to eye on anything. Just, we don't agree on nothing. Just 10 to 20%, we don't agree on nothing. We don't see nothing eye to eye. We just don't get along. We don't got nothing in common. Just over 10 to 20%. The best cure, the best way to communicate, to become a more effective communicator, number one is to actively listen. Listen to what someone is actually saying to you. Don't automatically try to do your own interpretation. See here, you're the one here that's listening to this. You're the one who wants to be a better communicator, right? So you have to take it upon yourself to take the necessary steps to lead the conversation with clear communication. Because you're the one who has the knowledge and the understanding of how clear, concise communication works. So you have to take the lead in this. And you have to be the other person's guide. Because maybe they just never learn clear communication. I mean, the average person doesn't learn clear communication. They don't teach us this stuff in school. This is stuff that we have to learn with age and with time and with experience. The first step in doing that is not to assume that what we're delivering is being received the same way that we delivered it. You can't assume that the way that you're delivering it every single time is going to be received. You have to realize that there's going to be that 10 to 20 to 30 to 40, maybe even 50, 60, 70% that someone is not going to receive your package the way that you delivered it. And at which time, that's when patience comes into play. That's when you have to take a moment and step back, retract your thoughts, and say, okay, let me look at this from your perspective. Let me see this from your perspective. Maybe you didn't necessarily interpret what I'm saying the way that I meant for you to interpret it. I think maybe you misunderstood me. Let me try to rephrase this. Let me try to say this in a different way. Let me learn your language so that I can speak your dialect, so that now we're on the same wavelength. Imagine having a conversation as an English speaker, strictly English. You don't know any other language, but yet you're trying to have a conversation with someone who speaks Arabic. Imagine that. And they only speak Arabic. They don't speak English at all. You only speak English. You don't speak Arabic at all. So y'all up here trying to have a conversation. Have you ever tried to do that before? And really have something important that you're trying to convey to this person? Maybe you're trying to warn them of something. You're trying to warn them of danger and they just don't understand. You're trying to explain it to them. But yet they don't speak your language, so they don't understand. You gotta learn. And the only way to get them to understand, the only way for you to communicate is for you to learn their language or for them to learn yours. But see, right now we're talking to you because you're the one listening to this. So that means that you would have to take it upon yourself to learn their language. You would have to be the lead in that scenario, and you would have to learn their language. Especially if you want to communicate with them, if you want a better communication between you and that person, you have to learn their language. Now, many times when we're interacting with people, we don't understand that. Or maybe it's even just someone that, it's like we're not going to have constant communication, with this person, so there's no need to learn their language. But in that instance, it still doesn't hurt to take a minute and just to step in their shoes and attempt to try to understand where they're coming from. That's all. So we just learned several different levels of communication. There's us having the package, our thought. There's us wrapping that package, and then us handing that package to the other person. That's the delivery. Handing it the package. We're delivering now. We're delivering what we're saying, our thought, our question, our comment. We're delivering that to the other person. It has now left our mind. It has translated out of our mouths, and we delivered it to the person. Now the person responds. And the way that they respond isn't the way that we delivered it. It wasn't the intent of our delivery. What do we do next? That's right there where arguments happen, disagreements happen, right there. Because we didn't stop and take a minute and say, you know what? By their response, I can tell they did not interpret what I say. See, we automatically, sometimes, hey, listen, we just gonna keep it real here. Sometimes we give people more of a benefit of a doubt than we should. Sometimes we do. Sometimes we expect. Our expectations get us in trouble every single time. We expect that just because we say to someone, they're going to immediately understand it. We expect that. That's just an expectation. If I tell you I dropped my phone, could you please hand me my phone? I immediately expect that you're going to know how to pick up that phone, right? That's my expectation. I'm going to expect when I say, I'm sorry, could you hand me my phone? It's closer to you than it is to me. I immediately expect that you're going to pick up that phone and you're going to hand it to me. Because then if you don't pick up the phone, what is my immediate thought might be? Oh, you're being smart, or you're being rude, or you don't want to hand me my phone, or you're being disrespectful. See, I immediately assumed the worst instead of thinking, okay, maybe you didn't hear me. Let me speak a little bit louder. Okay. All right, I spoke a little bit louder. You heard me. You still ain't having my phone. Okay. Maybe you don't understand me. Maybe you didn't understand me. Maybe you don't even speak my language. Just stopping and taking a minute and saying, okay, you know what? You didn't take that the way that I was trying to give that to you. Let me try it again, or let me try to say it in another way, or let me ask the question in a different way. You know what? I apologize if that offended you. I apologize if that came off wrong. Because listen, when you apologize at that point, you're not apologizing for what you're saying, right? You're apologizing for the fact that they might have interpreted what you said wrong, right? So if they interpreted what you said as wrong, as hurtful, as disrespectful, and that was not your intent, why wouldn't you want to apologize for that? If that wasn't your intent. Now, we ain't talking about if it was your intent, if you was throwing direct blows and jabs. We ain't talking about that right now. We talking about if it was not your intent to disrespect, to hurt, to be rude. If that was not your intent, especially if the person got offended, or if they give you an answer that lets you know that they were offended or it was offensive to them, I apologize if I offended you. You know what? I don't think that came out the way that I wanted it to. I don't think that came out the way that I wanted you to receive it. Let me try this again. How did you interpret that? How did you interpret what I just said? How did you receive what I just said? Ask them. So then you'll open up the door of opportunity for them to explain to you how they interpreted it or how they received what you said. Now they're giving your package back to you. And when they're giving the package back to you, they're giving the package back to you as they received it, not as you gave it. They're giving the package back to you as they received it. So now this is giving you the opportunity to see the package in a different light. So that's giving you the opportunity to understand where you maybe went wrong, maybe where they misinterpreted you. See, sometimes our ego and our pride gets in the way because it's like, listen, I know what I said. It's not my fault if you misinterpreted it or you didn't understand me. But why? But why not take that extra step? Why not take that extra time, understanding, compassion, empathy, to say, you know what, you're worth it. You're worth this. You're worth me trying to understand your language. You're worth me trying to understand how you interpreted what I said so that we can communicate better. Without communication, you have nothing. You will have chaos. You will have disruption. You will have always bump heads with someone you're trying to communicate with if you are not understanding each other. So why not go the extra step to try to make sure that the communication is clear? Why not go the extra step to ensure that you both are understanding each other at the same time, trying to understand how they received it? Then once you understand how they received it, then you can try to take the next step to give it back to them in the way that you meant, and come to a common ground, a commonality of language, so that you can get your point across. Because what is the purpose of communication at all if your point isn't coming across? You trying to say something, you're trying to get something across, you're trying to ask a question, but yet they're not understanding it. You have to understand that everyone is not going to understand things the way that you do. Everyone's not going to interpret everything the way that you do. Everybody is different. Once you learn that, once you take that extra step in your communication methods with everybody, you'll see a change in your life. Love and light.